hop off the plane at LAX and head straight outside where my Uber is already waiting for me.
And my Uber driver's uglier than I remember. What? You don't look anything like the profile picture. What a catfish. So Here, get the food. Come on. It's not so hard.
Did we do a good job?
Yeah,
this one has that extra stuff. Vergitors. What's that green stuff?
I think it's lettuce, bro.
Lettuce? What the fuck?
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video here at the Hustler. It's a $100 to $500 meetup game. We got 4 tables running so far. I'm not going to bore you. Let's just jump right into the hands. But if you're new, drop a subscribe and a like. Let's go.
You heard the man. It's a $100 to $500 buy-in. I'm in for the max. First hand of the night, I look down at pocket queens, the ladies from the big blind. Small blind puts in the call for $3. That's not going to fly with me. I raise him up to $15, and the small blind puts in the call. Heads up to a flop, which comes about as good as it can get. Queen, queen, 8. Bang! We flop quads. Only fitting that at my meetup game, the first hand I get is quads, and only fitting that the small blind now leads into me for $30. From having limped for $3 to calling my $15 raise, I'm hoping he has a hand like pocket 8, or maybe like 8-9, 7-8. Whatever, I'm not going to be raising, obviously, so I put in the $30 and we are off to a turn. When the turn comes to 4 of clubs and he doesn't slow down, I'm not going to be raising once again. I put in the $50 because I'm stringing him along. If I raise, it can give him some rope to fold, putting me on a queen, considering there's no chance he has one himself. So when I put in the $50, we're off to the river. River doesn't really change anything. It comes a deuce of spades, and the opponent now fires out into me for $100. It just keeps getting better and better. He has a little bit more in his stack. I'm not going to go all in and get too greedy, but instead I re-raise him 3x to $300, to which he snap folds, letting me know that he was trying to bluff me on the first hand. I turn over the goods and he goes crazy.
Wow! Is that you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Bang! Thank you very much, sir.
Dude over there, we think that pocket change.
Look at that, look at that. It's time to crown our first sponsored pro. He's a sponsored pro.
I'm moving up in this world. Hell freaking yeah.
There we go.
Look, Mom, I made it.
Alright, next hand, we copy and paste. I look down at pocket queens again, this time from the small blind. Under the gun opens it up to $15. When 2 players put in the call, I have to come in for the 3-bet, and I decide to make it large for $85. The middle position now rips his entire stack all in for $270. When the action's back over to me, I'm not going to be folding pocket queens. I put in the call, and let's see what he turns over. We have him in pretty rough shape, although he does have ace queen suited. The flop comes monotone all hearts, which is pretty good for us. The turn comes the 3 of clubs, followed by the 6 of diamonds on the river. Just like that, I'm 2 for 2 on the night with pocket queens, and we're up a good amount early on in the session.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Bang!
Oh, let's go. Here you go.
Thank you.
We're here at the second table. Let's go. What's up, boys? Let's go. Let's go. Oh, thanks, bro. Wow. What's your name?
Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Next hand, we look down at ace king of clubs from the cutoff. The straddle's on and there's a few limps over to me. So I make a standard raise here to $30, and the hijack and the small blind both put in the call. So we're going 3 ways in position to a flop, which comes ace 9-6 with 2 diamonds. When both players check it over to me, I'm going to go for a c-bet, and I decide to make it $40 because there's 2 other players in the hand. If I was heads up, I'd probably just make it 30, but only the small blind puts in the call, leading us to an interesting turn, which comes the 10 of diamonds. Obviously brings in the front door diamond draw, and the small blind checks it over to me. I could go for a little bit more value, or I could check behind and try to pick off some bluffs on the river or get value from worse aces that aren't going to call me for 3 streets. That's what I decided to do, and the river card comes the king of spades, about as safe as it can get. I'm now beating all those 2-pair kind of hands like ace 9, ace 6, and ace 10, but he decides to lead out into me for $150, which is nearly the size of the pot. Sure, he could be representing a flush. He could also be representing all of those 2 pairs, so I'm not going to fold for $150. I put in the call, and he does in fact show me the goods this time. 5 deuce of diamonds. So yes, you know it's a meetup game when they're showing the 5 high flush by the river. But nice hand, sir. You're taking down that $470 pot.
Oh no, it's the annual beer chugging contest with fish. He's got his like tripod here. He's a Charlie D'Amelio TikToker over here.
1, 2, go. Oh, I still got time. I still got time.
Fucking A. What a
Yes.
deal, man.
Oh man, here we go. Come on. Yes! Oh wait, I spoke too soon. Yes!
Oh my God.
You good, man.
Cheers, cheers. Oh.
Real quickly, if you guys are enjoying this video and the absolute sun run that I'm on, if you guys would do me a favor and drop a like on this video, and if you're new, consider subscribing. I post 2 videos a week, and they're always bangers. This next hand, we have 4 cards. I look down at King, Queen, 8, 7 with 3 hearts in my hand. It's a double board PLO bomb pot, a specialty here at the meetup games. We're off to a flop right away, which comes King, 6, 3, and Queen, Queen, Jack. So we flop ourselves top pair on the top and 3 of a kind on the bottom. Quincy bets out for $50 and I put in the call, leading us to a turn which comes to 10 of diamonds and 4 of diamonds. Doesn't really change too much for me. Quincy decides to bet out now for $330 and I put in the call once again, and the small blind now rips it all in for $400. Quincy and myself both put in the call. I obviously have 3 of a kind and top pair. I'm not going anywhere, and let's go off to a river. River comes the King of Spades and the 8 of Spades, giving me 3 of a kind on the top and a boat on the bottom. I think I'm going to be good at least on one of these. I turn over my cards. Quincy turns over pocket 6s, so he's going to take down that top board, and the small blind's going to muck his cards, letting me know he had Queen 4. So yes, we got there on the river on the bottom, and that's going to reward us with half of the pot, $750 coming my way. Next hand, pocket aces with 8-5. Yes, another double board BLO bomb pot. We're playing back-to-back ones here. And we are straight off to a flop, which comes King 10-7 with 2 clubs and Ace 4-3 rainbow. So we obviously flop that set on the bottom. No bang though, because it's a double board PLO bomb pot. And who knows, we don't have the nuts. They could have deuce 5 pretty easily. Play on my right bets out for $25. The cutoff raises it up to 100. I put in the call, the button puts in the call, and the player on my right puts in the call. So yes, we are going off to a flop here, extremely multi-weight, which comes the Jack of Clubs and the 8 of Spades. The royal flush draw is out there on the top. Look at my hand, I have an Ace of Spades, not the Ace of Clubs. That'd be pretty sick if we're up against a royal. You know what the title of the video would be, obviously then. That's not the case though when the action checks around. The 5 of Spades and the King of Spades peel off on the top and bottom respectively, and now the cutoff bets out for $100. The player on my right puts in the call and the action's on me. It's not ideal because the bottom board now has spades. We're really playing nothing on the top considering any 2 pair has us beat. But at the same time, it's $100 to win like $900. So I decide to put in the call, and the button makes it even better when he puts in the call again. And let's see if we can win at least half this pot here. We do. We are going to take down that board with the ace on it and chop the pot. Another $450 coming my way. Unfortunate to the right, Quincy had pocket 4s, so yeah, set over set in this one, but we're not complaining. We're 2 for 2 on the bomb pots, which literally never happens to me. Let's keep this train moving in the right direction. I look down at 8-7 of spades from the hijack. I decide to raise it up to $15, and early position and the small blind both put in the call, leading us to a flop of King Jack 9 rainbow. When small blind checks it over to early position, who checks it over to me, I don't think I'm going to stab on this board. For one, it's multi-way, and for two, we just don't have anything, so I decide to check behind, leading us to the turn card, which comes the Queen of Clubs. And now gives us a flush draw, which is pretty great. So in the early position bets out for $10. I'm not going to be folding. Maybe I could be raising. Who knows? I put in the $10 and the small blind gets out of the way, leading us to the 6 of clubs on the river. Bang! We river the flush. Great spot for us, and he checks it over to me, which isn't great news. But still, I'm going to go for max value. I decide to bet out for $100 into the opponent, and he pretty quickly puts in the call. I'm going to turn over what I assume to be the best hand, and it is. He turns over, though, a hand he slow played on the flop, Queen 10 offsuit. So he flopped the flush, and I went runner on him. But what else is new at my meetup game? I'm taking down nearly $300 in this one.
We have our second sponsored pro, Quincy.
Got our people playing the stand-up game.
Stand-up game.
We got the nuts.
Oh, they're in trouble.
They're in trouble.
They're in doo-doo. It's not Jack 4, but they're in trouble.
All right, new table, new hand. I look down at ace 5 of hearts from the cutoff. Late position opens it up to $15, and I decide to 3-bet him to 45. He puts in the call. That means we're heads up to a flop, which comes Queen 9-9 with 2 hearts, because of course it does, and he checks it over to me. I go for a standard 1/3 pot size bet for $30, and he goes for the check raise to 100, which is definitely a weird line. He might have a 9 in his hand, but I have the nut flush draw, so I'm not going anywhere. He only has around 250 total in his stack, so I decide let's play for all of it right now. I rip it in for his entire stack of 250, and he pretty quickly calls, which means we probably are going to need to hit a heart on the turn or the river. No sweat right away. The turn comes the king of hearts. Bang! We turn the flush. The river's overkill. It comes a 6 of hearts, giving him a little bit of hope because he did have the jack of hearts in his hand. But instead, he was bluffing with ace high. Actually better than my hand though, so we needed to hit. Nevertheless though, we're going to take down that pot. Another like $600 coming my way. Alright you guys, we find ourselves in the next hand with pocket kings. The sun run continues. I look down at them from the hijack, and Tyler raises it up to $20. Obviously I'm not playing for 25 bones. I put in the 3-bet to 65, to which he says, yes sir, we're playing for a flop. He puts in the call, and that brings us to an interesting flop, which comes 9-5 deuce with 2 hearts. This is a flop that's not really going to connect well with my pre-flop raising range unless I have a pocket pair, so occasionally I could be going for some checkbacks, but it's a meetup game. He's going to have all the flush draws, straight draws, yada yada, so when he checks it over to me, I go for a bet of $45. If we get raised, we're in a gross spot. We're going to have to call, but we're proceeding with caution on turns and rivers. That's not the spot he puts us in. He just puts in the call, and that leads us to the 5 of diamonds on the turn, which I'm not too sure how I feel about. Sure, you could have some hands like 5-6, 5-7, which have us beat now, but at the same time, he's still going to have a lot of his flush draws and a lot of his straight draws and 1 pair hands, so I decided to go for a little bit more value for $135. When he mucks his cards, we obviously win that hand, and yeah, we just can't get beat at our meetup game tonight. Back-to-back kings, we look down at these ones from the straddle. I put in that $6 straddle. There's a few callers, so I decided to raise it up to $31. Only Tyler puts in the call, and we're off to a flop, which comes Queen 9-7, which is pretty great for my hand because he's going to have a lot of those combos like Ace Queen, maybe King Queen, Queen Jack. He's also going to have some 10-8. He decides to check it over to me. There's $70 in the middle. How much would you guys bet? I decide on a sizing of just around half for $30. Maybe could be sizing up a little bit more because the board's pretty dynamic. Either way though, he puts in the call, and that brings us to a harmless deuce of clubs on the turn. When he checks it over to me for a second time, it's important not to check behind. There's so many hands I can get value from. And good thing I do, I bet out for $100 into the $130 pot, to which Tyler doesn't fold just yet. He puts in a stack of yellow. That's a call, and we're off to the river in a $330 pot, which comes a 7 of diamonds. Interesting card. Some of his 7x combos now get there, though I don't think a lot of them are going to call my $100 bet on the turn, so I'm not too worried about that. But now Tyler takes up the betting lead and bets out for $150 into me. Would he be doing this with a hand like Queen Jack or Queen 10? Maybe. It's a meetup game, anything's possible. I think it's more likely he has a busted straight draw like 10-8 or 8-6. He also could have a busted club draw he picked up on the turn. So for that reason, and because I have an overpair, well actually 2-pair at this point, I decided to put in the call, which is a no-brainer for me. He mucks his cards face down when I show them. I don't want to slow roll him at all. He said I was good. I turned over my cards. Nice try there, Tyler, but yeah, another one for the good guys.
Do sausage.
No, I love it. I love it. We're out here for the money, baby.
We're up nearly $1,500 in this $500 max buy-in game. Jenny, or as she goes by on Instagram, Little Poker Chef, she rips her entire stack in for $62. I wish the night was going a little better for her. She's an awesome person. But at this moment, she reps it in for $62, and I'm going to give her some action with my King-Queen offsuit. Still a few players left to act, so I wouldn't normally just flat call this 62, but it's a meetup game, and hopefully no one else puts in a re-raise. Which they do. Faded Poker in the small blind. He rips his entire stack in for 140. I'm not going anywhere when I put in the 62. I put in the call, and so we're in a spot here where we could eliminate 2 opponents, although Faded has a great shot to triple up here when he looks down at pocket queens. Jenny has ace queen offsuit, so I'm actually in the worst shape possible, but don't tell the hustler or the dealers this. I've been tipping good all night, and the dealers notice and appreciate it, and they put a king high flop out there. How does that even come? I'm in bad shape against queens. Ace queen has me dominated, but somehow the king comes out there and the board runs out clean.
Oh, you sack of crap!
Come on,
How do you feel, you bastard?
Absolute disaster for them. I knock out 2 of my friends in the poker space, but yet again 340 chips are being shipped my way, and that brings us to the next hand where I look down at 6-5 of spades from the big line. Few limps to me, so I raise it up to $15, trying to put some more money in the middle. Our buddy Matt and the small blind both put in the call, leading us to a flop of Jack 4-3 with 2 spades, open-ended straight draw, flush draw. What else could we want on this board? Small blind checks it over to me, and I decide to bet out for $15. Matt's not going anywhere. He drove all the way from Beverly Hills for this. What a guy. And the small blind puts in the call as well, leading us to the 6 of diamonds on the turn, giving me a pair. Small blind checks it over to me, and I decide to slow down now because Matt's a crazy mofo. And he checks behind though this time, leading us to the 6 of hearts on the river. Bang! We river 3 of a kind. Small blind checks it over to me, and this hand is super deceptive. I'm hoping Matt or the small blind has a jack in their hand we can get max value from. So I decide to overbet the pot, make it look like a bluff or the nuts. That's polarizing, so 105 is the bet. Unfortunately, both players fold. I think they would have called with a jack, so unfortunate none of them had it. But I can't complain at this meetup game. What am I doing complaining? More chips being shipped my direction? Yes, please. Ace-6 of clubs. We're going to battle with this one, and I raise it up to $15 from the low jack, and we get 3 callers. The flop comes 7-5-3 with 2 hearts. We have the backdoor club draw idea. We also have the gutter to the straight. So in middle position leads out into me for 25 bucks. I'm not going anywhere just yet. I'll happily put some more money in the middle. Early position puts in the call, and the turn comes a 7 of spades. Early position now slows down and checks it over to middle position, who checks it over to me. Now I could be checking behind, looking to pick up that elusive 4 on the river, but instead I want to take the betting lead and try to put pressure on any of their weird hands that have flush draws, or maybe just a 3 in it having me beat as well. So I decided to bet out for half pot here for 60 bucks. One job done when the early position folds. We want to see another fold from middle position, which we do not get. But there's always one more card to come, and it doesn't help us this time. It comes the Jack of Spades. Middle position checks it over to me again, and now we could check behind with our ace high, which I think might be the best play. Instead, it looks like I'm cutting out some chips. I decided to bet out into him for 75 bucks, but let's pause the video here for a second. I don't really think this bet accomplishes too much because any of his hands that have me beat are just going to call, right? If he has a hand that has a 7 in it, he's either going to call or raise. If he has 8s, 9s, 10s, he's not going to be scared of the jack for one bet, and he's going to put in the call. And all of his hands that are going to fold to this bet, I'm also going to have beat already as is with my ace high. For instance, if he has 8, 9, a heart draw, maybe a hand like something with a 4 in it, I could just check behind and get to a cheap showdown. So for that reason, I think a check behind is the better move. Either way though, in the moment, I bet out for 75 bucks and it accomplishes the same thing. But see how he turns over 8, 9 of hearts? Yeah, I just would have won against that anyways. So checking behind is probably the move there, and either way, I'm taking down another $255.
I think Matt would have won that.
I had 7-2.
But he wasn't in the
7-2.
hand.
goddamn it.
The sponsored pro didn't get the memo. 7 deuce.
With that last hand in the books, we rack up our chips. A total of 6 racks is what it takes to take it over to the cage, exchanging them for some cold, hard cash.
Wow, what a meetup that was. We got in for 500, out for 28.11. That means a profit of 23.11 on the night. Got the poster of the meetup game. That was super fun. Shout out to everyone that came out and visited. About 4 tables, and it was an awesome time. Made 2,300 bucks. Had a bunch of cool friends come out like Matt. We have Fish. I don't know where Fish is. Probably drinking another beer. That was a super fun time. So if you guys came out to the game, shout out to you. Good luck on the felt as always.
I'll tell you guys this real quick, not to cut Wolfgang off, but if you're new to poker and you want to come learn, the best place to learn is on these meetups. I didn't do as well. A lot of learning. I didn't do as well as I thought I would have done, but I'll tell you what, I learned through every single hand. There's Fish.
You guys getting? Did I cock block?
No.
I'm sorry. I'll fucking.
Best outro ever. As always, good luck on the felt, you guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Peace.
Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.